Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Namo Amida Butsu.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I'm okay. How's the lighting here? I'm a bit right underneath the light here. Let me see if I can
It
scoot
looks
over.
fine. I hope I don't have my lamp in here, so this outside light is all I'm using. Hopefully it doesn't get too dark by the end of the session, but
I'm gonna just scoot over a bit. Just so I'm not directly right underneath the light here. It's just like, oh well, it's just that doesn't change too much anyway. Never mind. So
yeah, it looks
yes.
fine to me.
What's that?
Looks
Sorry?
fine to me.
Okay. I'm just gonna go back to where it was because it just doesn't matter. Yeah. If it was just too bright on my yeah. So
All right,
how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I did watch the video that you sent to.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got some updates that are happening here.
Okay.
And I have some thoughts. This is, first of all, I think, a really good topic. And it's one that I mean, obviously, I think everyone questions and has doubts and questions about. And then the question is what can Buddhism, and specifically Kyogyoshinsho, what does Kyogyoshinsho have to offer in regards to resolving this issue, right?
Exactly.
And I think as we discuss, the great thing about the discussions we have here is that, unlike in some other, groups or whatever, it's all, practical. It's all about how, living as an unenlightened being in Mapo, with no Buddhas around. What do we do? And how does Kyogyoshinsho guide us and inform our very existence here and now? And that's the real core and heart of this path. So I think it's great that I'm always excited when the topics go back to really,
real life.
Like now, real life.
This is how I feel like every day. This is how I feel. This is how you remind me of what I really am. This is how you remind me. It's every day. It's an everyday. It's with me every day, every minute of the day. I feel a sense of, I wish I was, better than I am. I wish I'd done things just differently. I know I can't. I can't change it. I know that's my karmic causes and conditions. I know that, but in certain particular ways, it's very difficult to, is very difficult. It's very difficult dealing with just seeing the consequences of one's karmic causes and conditions, I guess.
Well, before we get to the question of whether or not we can change, because I think that's something we can discuss. How about you voice the question or doubt so that any viewers understand exactly what we're talking about, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'll put the link also for that video that I did like over a year ago about this topic. In my Deep Reflections series, I'll put the link in the description. So basically, it's more pretty much when looking, reflecting on my life, I pretty much regret. Just to make a long story short, I regret pretty much everything about my life, other than being born as a human, having had the karmic causes and conditions to be born as a human. So I'm, the rare, to have the rare occasion to be a human. And so I don't regret that, certainly. And I don't regret, because of that, I can, encounter the Buddha Dharma and the Amida Dharma, and I don't regret that I'm, a Kyogyoshinsho Buddhist, and that I've had that, that encounter with the Nembutsu, with Amida, with, I'm very, in that sense, I'm very grateful. I'm very, I celebrate my life in that sense, my human birth, in all those, ways. But pretty much anything to do with kind of just me and my ordinary bamboo existence, I pretty much regret. Or I regret isn't just it's not just regret, because that suggests, things I could have done differently, which there are, certainly when I was older, there's things I could have done differently. Or even, even at a certain point, where you're in your teenage years, there's a point where you could have, behaved differently in some ways and things. But anyway, so but it's not just that, it's dissatisfaction, it's the old, dissatisfaction, and that's samsara. That's part of being a samsaric being. It is unsatisfactory existence. Dukkha, indeed, exactly.
Deep dukkha.
Deep dukkha. We are in deep dukkha.
Deep dukkha.
Deep dukkha, indeed. So, so it's not just, I'm not laying it all on me. And, it's not like, not laying all the regrets, I mean, ultimately, yeah, karmic causes and conditions wise, yeah, this is my life. This is what I created. Past actions, past thoughts, past deeds, past behavior, and this is what we created, through our collective karma, and our, so in that sense, yeah, it is down to myself individually and to us, collectively. But so it's not all just, those like specific regrets. It's that general, and I don't know how much, I want to get into personal details and things. But I've been abused, I've had traumas, I've been bullied most of my childhood, bullied, grew up in not the best of sects of cult-like, however mainstream cult-like, I guess you could say, the religion I grew up in was. So there was, and there was certainly problems with that, a lot of just unhealthy stuff going on, corrupt things going on within that community, that just, just wanton hypocrisy, so it just, all of that really has a, I'm not, and again, I take responsibility for my karmic causes and conditions of my life, not, yeah, if you're a kid, or even a teenager, and all these things happening, it's still a horrible thing to happen to somebody. It's not just, it's not a good thing to, it's not, it's, it's not okay for these things to happen. But as a Buddhist, I still acknowledge my karmic causes and conditions that brought me into this life, brought me into the family I had, brought me into the community I grew up in. That's another aspect of it too, is the community I grew up in was very socially stratified, let's just say. And my family was all the wrong stuff. where we moved, the suburban kind of area we moved into was kind of, we had the wrong religion, I had the wrong clothes, I had the wrong family pedigree, I had the wrong everything, wrong, and so I was just, and I always kind of grew up on the outside looking in. I just always, not just from that, but just from a very young age, I always felt like an alien. I always felt weird or somehow outside, and my way
Mm.
I communicated with people never kind of fit with what they were, or how I behaved never quite fit into the way it was supposed to. Do you know what I mean? That's just how I felt all my life to this day, to the present day. Um, so it's just all these things are, and again, it's not a pity party at all. I take, like I said, I take full karmic responsibility for my karmic, causes and conditions in my life that brought me here. In that sense, I deserve the life that I've had, and but at the same time, do you know what I mean? I said, it's with, the thing, I don't really like myself very much in some ways. Do you know what I mean? I don't really, I, wish I was something else. That doesn't even really
Yeah,
encapsulate it.
I get you. I totally
Yeah.
get it.
And it's, it is what it is, but, because karmically speaking, this is, this is what you get in samsaric existence. This is what this is what it is, but what, it's difficult in the present moment. I just, I think, wow, why does my wife want to be married to me? You know what I mean? That kind of thing, like, you know, um, you know, just anyway. So just, just stuff like that, you know,
Hmm.
kind of, you know, inevitable in samsaric existence. You're going to feel these ways because it is all dukkha. It is all dissatisfying. It is all unsatisfactory, and I feel I'm unsatisfactory. That's it. That's a good. I'm unsatisfactory, not just all of samsara. I am unsatisfactory.
Yeah,
You
I know
know.
that feeling.
Anyway,
I don't know if
so
there's anybody who doesn't know that
yeah.
feeling.
So I don't know if I've kind of
Yeah,
said
no,
that
that was
very
great. Yeah.
well,
Well,
but on the other hand, so that's what I regret, and
mhm.
that's what I'm dissatisfied with about my provisional existence here. On the other hand, I celebrate my rare human birth. I celebrate encountered Buddhism. I celebrate that I encountered Pure Land Buddhism. I celebrate that I encountered Kyogyoshinsho, that I encountered Amida, encountered the Nembutsu. Have encountered the Trushin Buddhism group, and the Amida-ji, and all things that led me to this past couple of years here, where I've really you know gone for it with
Mhm.
doing as Renyo said, speak up, get it out there, get to really have Dharma dialogue, really proper Dharma dialogue that I've never been willing to do. All that stuff. I'm very grateful now that that's where I'm at. Like I'm, whoo, and my life is so different because of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. The whole thing of it, from Pure Land Jodo Shinshu Buddha from the early noughties till now, markedly different. That it's just through that gradual working of Amida, you know,
Mhm.
it has transformed my life in a lot of ways, very, very gradually, incrementally. Um,
Mhm.
so, you know, and along with it, some of this, how, this feeling that these things I'm trying to express that I want to,
Yeah.
that's been improved greatly. But anyway, so I'm grateful for all those things, celebrate those things, but it's not all bad. And that's kind of what I celebrate on my birthday. This is my birth month is, I celebrate more the human birth. I've encountered Amida, but that's kind of what I've, celebrate. Even when I celebrate other people's birthdays, I celebrate their rare human birth, not necessarily the specifics of their samsaric existence, which is, you know, is not a great thing, is it? It's tough for me to take that entirely seriously. The whole idea of, you know, celebrating, I don't know, the specifics of someone's samsaric bamboo existence, but you know, but the rarity of their human birth and that they're here and they have that opportunity, to encounter
Mhm.
the Buddha Dharma and make it a real part of their lives, and or to have that true encounter, that's amazing. So anyway, okay. So,
but the question then is, can you discriminate between the two? But we'll get to that. Now,
yeah.
I do want to say,
Yeah.
I totally see where you're coming from, and I feel very, I mean, we're both ordinary, unenlightened people, so and as you said in your video too, I mean, it's the nature of being a Bombu, of being an unenlightened person, to have regrets. And if the only person who doesn't have regrets is the Buddha.
Yeah.
And why is that? Because we look back at our past and we discriminate. We pick out, oh, this is good, this was good, this was bad. We discriminate, we label. That's what we have, the discriminatory mind consciousness. That's what makes us unenlightened, Bombu. If we did not have that, then we would be the Buddha. So it's the nature, as you said, of Bombu to discriminate, good, bad, all of this, black, white, we do that. That's what we do. It's the nature of our unenlightened human consciousness to do that. Now, speaking, since you shared a little bit, so I'll share, very important. I too have regrets. I was raised, just, to put it broadly, in a very strict fundamentalist religious household. I was basically socially isolated throughout my entire childhood. And as partly as a result of that, even in college, I let a lot of life opportunities just pass me by. And, now I look back and, everyone, of course, has the fantasy that you mentioned, which is if I could just go back and redo things, it's like Back to the Future, that movie. That's where that comes from. We wish that we could go back. And I think, if I could just go back to me then and tell myself what I know now, say, go with your friends to that bar, go on that date, say hello to that cute girl in sociology class, just get on, just do it. Because I was a bit of a late bloomer, and I look back and I there are things I regret about that,
Yeah.
But we can't change our past. And one thing, and the thing is you mentioned so that you have those things you regret, right? And we have, I'll just say we, because but then we have, and we're grateful for the obvious things, like we have enough to eat, and we have comparatively comfortable existences free from war and famine and terror, and a lot of people can't even say that in the world we live in now. So so we're blessed in that sense, and of course we're grateful for that. But again, that all goes back to our discriminatory Bombu minds making those distinctions and those discriminations. And I want to say, or I want to sort of pose the question, okay, that came up to me when I heard you discussing this topic, sure. Which is, we say, for example, I'm grateful that I encountered Kyogyoshinsho, that I encountered the Buddha Dharma. But how do I discriminate that process of me encountering the Dharma from the rest of my existence? Where does the one end and the other begin? And I want to say that I'm not sure that there is a way we can discriminate that. In other words, all of our past karmic history is in some way through the working of other power, bringing us to this point here and now, where we have encountered the working of the vow. And so how do we separate the two? And we do with our bamboo mind, we distinguish, we discriminate. And yes, of course, there's things that we shouldn't do and we should avoid, and there's things we should do. And that's just basic human, common sense. And, let's just say mistakes were made. And it would have been better, perhaps to have done things differently. But what I want to say is, like, I look back and say, well, really might have been nice if I had had a different kind of upbringing, but it was my extremely, that particular way I was, those conditions, let's say, it's actually what caused me to really start to question and, ask religious and spiritual questions about the nature of the universe and things I was being taught, to really question, to search other religions. And finally, by the time I got to college, I was looking into Buddhism. I was reading the sutras of Shakyamuni, and that process led me to Kyogyoshinsho. Now, I have friends
in a lot of ways, like what you just described, we've lived exactly the same life. Like that, what you just described is exactly what, and even in the time frame, we've lived, I don't mean, in this sense, in just this sense, we've lived a very similar life, I should say. Even in the time frame of when you started to look into things. Anyway, sorry, I don't want to disrupt your thought.
Well, I think it's probably common.
That's exactly what. How it went with me, and the reasons why, a similar, anyway, and
I think it's kind of common to people who were raised in a similar religious fundamentalist, background. But and on the other hand, I have friends who friends, I should say, friends of my parents, kids of my parents' friends, people I know or knew, and they never questioned or looked outside the box of their where they and so I wonder, what caused me to do that? And again, how do we discriminate the things that led us here and the things that didn't? It's one path that we've been walking. We can't do that. Buddhism says everything that we are right here and now is the results, the cause, or I should say the effect of those causes and conditions that are inconceivably innumerable. We can't wrap our heads around, and we could even talk about, this in a scientific sense as well, but, who we are is directly related to how many pebbles there are on the moon. I mean, it's all interconnected. There's no, you know what I'm trying to say, right?
And that, no, it's very much know what you're saying.
So the question that we have, the problem, really,
I mean, that fits with Buddhism too. The dependent origination and all that. Everything's dependent on everything else. Everything else you can scientifically see that. You could just look at the teachings and see that. Every single thing about us is connected to every single thing else everywhere of all time. And beyond, in beginningless time and no time.
Right. And the founder, I forget, I unfortunately the name's not coming to my head, coming to my mind right now, but one of the Chinese Buddhist thinkers, and I believe maybe someone who was influential in Tiandai or Tiantai Buddhism, or possibly some other school, but It's the idea that this idea that's actually from the Kyogyoshinsho, the Avatamsaka Sutra, where the metaphor of Indra's net and the dewdrops or the jewels reflect every other jewel in this.
Exactly.
And this is kind of more the philosophical side of Buddhism. So it's, up to, we can't necessarily grasp all of it. But, if you open the dictionary, this was a metaphor, an example that I learned in a class I took on this topic in college. And you pick one word, and then you read the definition. You note that the definition is using other words. And so then you have to go and look and see what those words mean. And then the process continues and continues. And then, so finally you realize every word in the dictionary is somehow related to every other word. And that's, that's kind of similar to what Buddhism, the fundamental philosophy of Buddhism. So how do we, pick one thing and pull it out and discriminate and say, this is bad, this is good? Well, we do that because we're Bambu. The Buddha doesn't do that. The Buddha, doesn't have that problem. So we have that problem. So the question is, is there a solution to that problem, right? And I think that Buddhism, and especially Kyogyoshinsho, it's interesting that you mentioned this particular issue, because I feel this is one of those issues that Shinshu directly and clearly addresses. There's no ambiguity, and we can.
I'm feeling a Hasu drop by the end of this. I'm sensing a Hasu drop by the end of this session. Like there's going to be it's just kind of sitting there calmly now, but that at some point it's just gonna, I'm sensing it anyway.
Yeah, I think it very well could happen. I think let's, first of all, what are your thoughts about that? I did sort of talk a little bit, I guess, about my take, and then I want to know what
that's always the big, the big picture, the big perspective that, is so great about Buddhism, is you have to sit back and look at the bigger picture, even though we can't fully conceive it. We're Bambu. We can't fully conceive it with our, in our ignorance, in our state. But it gives us a perspective. You can get a, perspective from it. Gives us some guidelines, and that's one of the great things is when you actually look at the teaching and the bigger perspective of this. It kind of says, you kind of relax about the particulars. You kind of go, well, yeah, I mean, how can I I hadn't even looked at that angle, with all this, but how can I discriminate? How can I separate one thing from the other? And it makes me think of, and this I had looked at, but now in this perspective even more so. This is one thing that I have looked at that I am grateful for. All these things that I actually regret. I think I might have said this in the video too. All these things that I actually regret and are dissatisfactory about samsaric existence is it brought me to Amita's feet. I was going to say door, but it was really to his feet. When I fell literally on the ground on my face, to crying out to Amita in the mid-noughties. That's all those things brought, you don't come to Kyogyoshinsho and you don't come to Amita by, because I have a godlike existence, like where everything's great you know what I mean? I mean, at least I would.
Mhm.
I know. Me, with everyone, the light goes to everyone in every realm and in every, in every type of human who's whatever realm they're from predominantly in. But like, I mean, most people that come to Pure Land Jodoshinshu Buddhism isn't because they've had a successful existence as a bamboo. Do you know what I mean? They
Mhm.
haven't had a great a great time, you know. So at least in my existence, at least my perspective is because of all those things and all the pain from that and all the suffering and all the trying to find a way out, trying to that motivated me. All those things, I find dissatisfactory and regretful motivated me eventually find Buddhism, and obviously the whole while being guided by Amida without even knowing it. Obviously that but those things motivated me to Buddhism, to seek the answer in Buddhism, and then eventually to seek the ultimate answer in the Pure Land teaching, the Jodo Shinshu teachings. And if we're, I mean, if looking at my psyche kind of as much as I can, if I had had a different life, would I really have done? Would I really have wound up even looking at any of this stuff? If I had,
Mhm.
if I didn't know what I know now, and at all, and perhaps didn't have Amida's guidance, behind the scenes, and all the assemblage of bodhisattva Buddhas and bodhisattvas behind the scenes that I didn't even know were there in this lifetime. That would I have even? Do you know what I mean? If I didn't have all these regrets and wasn't so dissatisfied, would I have even looked at Buddhism? It was
Mhm.
my suffering that motivated me to look at Buddhism. Let's face it.
Yeah,
It's
and
not. So yeah.
well,
So in
and it
that sense,
may
that's
well
another.
be
It turns it into gratitude for those things. But and kind of in this
right.
bigger perspective, this broader perspective, that somewhere in there that fits. Anyway, so
Yeah, and it may well be that one of those things that we most regret was the most essential in leading us to the Dharma and to the path of awakening, right? I mean, it's possible.
exactly,
I'm just saying
exactly.
as a let's entertain that thought, that idea.
Yeah,
Um, and so yeah, and really with I think largely what you said is also compatible with, say monotheistic traditions too, where they teach that the bad things that happen for a reason, and God, uses those things as part of his purpose, and so on. But of course, in those, well, I always hesitate to make overgeneralizations, but
yeah, yeah.
generally, good is good, evil is evil, and
Mm,
God can use the evil, but it's evil. The evil can't be transformed,
hmm
and
hmm
um, and Jodo Shinshu goes a step beyond and actually offers us a way in which karmic evil can be transformed into what Shinran calls the highest good, not just good, but the highest good, the good that
Bit,
belongs to the Tathagata. So
bits
this is
of
kind of
bits of
going to the
rubble,
next
bits of
level.
rubble into gold, turning bits of rubble into
Yes,
gold. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
yeah, and ice into water, which I want to talk about this text as well. But So yeah, I totally do agree. Now I want to, if we can, let's maybe
Sure.
discuss a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah, I want to share
okay. Please do.
okay, let's see if I
I've
can
already set it to
pull
allow
it.
you to share. while you're doing that, I want to
Okay.
just mention another aspect of this.
Oh,
which is
sure. Yeah, please.
the ghost mind, I'll call it, the Preta mind here of the, if I could go back, and being, I even have a year that I would go back to for it, I even have that picked out, in that fantasy, and
Mhm.
the mind, we, I'm just so fixated with a certain time in one's life, where you think because of our bamboo mind, we think that was where it all went wrong. That was before. If I could just get back to there and then stop, that was up to there was good.
Mhm.
Do you see what I mean? Like, and somehow we get
Right.
fixated with that. Somehow, if I could just go back, knowing what I know now, then I could turn it around, And it's that, like I said, that ghost. It's that being, obsessed with that one aspect of
Mhm.
life, and the delusion that it was somehow not, okay up to that point, and that somehow
Yeah.
could, you see what I mean? That even though I know the
Right.
the ignorance of
Rationally,
that is
you
still
know that.
there. I still, do you know what I mean? I can, I know as a Buddhist, like, what are you talking about, man? Do you know what I mean? Like, like it was better before, it was okay up to that point. Seriously, but you don't,
Yeah.
you still have that. It's that mind, that's why I call it kind of the Preta, the ghost mindset. You just can't even,
Yeah.
I just got to get, I need to resolve
Right.
it. I need to, that moment from then I got to, do you know what I mean? There's an aspect of that in there.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like, I think what would happen, just like, have you ever seen Peggy Sue Got Married with Nick Cage and
Yeah.
what's her name? Well, okay, it's a basically it basically happens. What I'm talking about, that fantasy happens to her in this movie. I can't remember. Romancing the Stone. What was the woman's name that was in that?
Mhm.
It's her that was plays Peggy Sue.
But yeah,
She goes back in time into her own consciousness in high school, and it's exactly this,
yeah.
that like fantasy, reflective fantasy that I have of being able to, transfer my consciousness back there and then just read. And she gets back there and she can't change anything. She knows she's there, but she gets so caught up in
Right.
it and the emotion, and it almost is worse,
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
and that's more what would happen with the bomb, us bamboo. If we actually had the power to do that, that's what might
Mhm.
have happened. Or that Nathaniel Hawthorne short story where they get that opportunity, they all go back. If we could just
Mm.
change it, and they all just start doing the same exact things that they did, all like the gambling, whatever it was,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much what would happen with us bamboo, especially as bamboo, any ordinary being, but especially bamboo living in Mapo, like, it would just go wrong.
Well,
Anyway.
if we could go back and change our evil nature, as Shinran says, which is like snakes and scorpions, then maybe we wouldn't bamboo, right? I mean, that's how do
Well,
we
it'd be
taming the snakes and the scorpions?
different species, maybe, of
Uh,
of snakes and scorpions that we might
yeah.
let out of the box. Anyway.
But in my 20s, and yes, I came to Japan. I started a career. I did many things, but in my 20s, in a large sense, I just sort of let life pass me by, And now I'm in my 30s, but I have to realize that, however much I might choose to wallow in regret, it's not gonna do any good for me. And I think it's kind of like what the wizard Gandalf says to Frodo in the Lord of the Rings. All that you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to you. And because Frodo was like,
Yes.
why did this come to me, and why why did that have to happen, and why did Bilbo have to do this? And it's just he's like just wallowing in regret and all of this. And Gandalf says, but that's not for you to decide. You can't change that. All that you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to you. So on that note, let's see what Shinron.
Please share and gain strength from the sharing. So
indeed. Okay, are we visible?
We are.
Okay, so this came to mind.
Wow,
as I was,
we are going right back to it. Going back to the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning. Vestini, he said, go back to the beginning. Okay.
Indeed. What came to mind was the tragedy of the Oshajo in Japanese. For some reason, I can't remember the Sanskrit, but the castle, the family of Bimbasara, and as recorded in the Contemplation Sutra. And there were largely 3 people involved, and they were all, as we would say, from our unenlightened point of view, bad to the bone.
Bad. Bad.
And you had Devadatta, of course, who is well known in all Buddhist traditions for being the instigator of the instigator of many woes within the Buddhist community. And then you had Ajatasattu, the prince, the son of Bimbasara, who had his own father killed.
Yeah, patricidal maniac.
So committed, the one of the 5 grave evils or offenses. And then you had Vaidehi, who on the face of it seems like a sort of sympathetic character, but actually it turns out that she's not innocent either in all of this, in this family catastrophe. And also, she's kind of, again, when she meets Shakyamuni, she's full of regret for her past and self-pity, and she's saying all of this, and then she says, I really wonder, what kind of karmic conditions led you to be the cousin of that Devadatta fellow. So she's like she's like accusing Shakyamuni and saying, what on earth happened to you that you would be related to that evil Devadatta, who's caused so much evil. So she's at that point, she's like us, right? She's peak Bambu, self-pitying, full of regrets, laying it on the Buddha,
self-hating, self-hating, self-deprecating. Yeah.
So the interesting thing, the thing that came to mind is here you have these people in this tragedy who are, let's just say that they've messed up and they have things to regret. Shall we agree?
Yes. I think it's safe to say.
Safe to say, I think. So what does Shinron say? I'll just read if that's okay.
Please, yeah.
I reflect within myself. The universal vow, difficult to fathom, is indeed a great vessel bearing us across the ocean difficult to cross. The unhindered light is the sun of wisdom, dispersing the darkness of our ignorance. Thus it is that when conditions for the teaching of birth in the Pure Land had matured, Devadatta provoked Ajatasattu to commit grave crimes. And when the opportunity arose for explaining the Pure Act by which birth is settled, Shakyamuni led Vaidehi to select the land of peace. In their selfless love, these incarnated ones, Devadatta, Avatasattu, Vaidehi, all aspired to save the multitudes of beings from pain and affliction. And in his compassion, Shakyamuni, the great hero, sought indeed to bless those committing the 5 grave offenses, those slandering the Dharma, and those lacking the seed of Buddhahood. We know, therefore, that the auspicious name embodying the perfectly fulfilled supreme virtues is true wisdom that transforms our evil into virtue, and that the diamond-like Shinjin, so difficult to accept, is true reality that sweeps away doubt and brings us to attainment of enlightenment.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo.
And so,
Wow.
I think it's obvious, but what
it still amazes me how, like, you could see completely something you've never seen before, no matter how many years you've been reading this stuff. Almost every single time you read it, you go, "Oh, never saw that before. Never realized that meaning before, that depth before, that never got that whelmed up like I just did while you're reading that before, Anyway.
So out of these regrettable and evil causes and conditions of Devadatta, Ajatasattu, Vaidehi, Shinran actually sees that these people were in fact bodhisattvas in disguise, playing out the conditions for the Pure Land teaching to arise. And then what does he say? The true wisdom that transforms our evil into virtue.
Yeah.
So Shin Buddhism is not just about overcoming evil. It's about a path that actually transforms our evil into virtue.
Into good.
And when I first read Kyogyoshinsho so many years ago, this was the phrase that stood out to me, and that just really was like, wow.
This is like this is definitely this got to be one of the top 10 flips of Joshinshu. It's one of the top 10, like,
it is. The transformation of evil into virtue. That to me was, I wanted to hear more. I wanted to know more, what is going on here, and how is this possible? And going back to the issue that we were discussing, because I think the relation here is clear, but Shin Buddhism leads us to a path in which we actually feel gratitude for all the causes and conditions. As hard to get that as it may be, that's the path that we're on, and that's what it leads to. And so that's where the major transformation of consciousness takes place, where we actually are enabled to sort of let go of those discriminations, evil and good and bad and good, and all of those regrets, and we're enabled to to live in gratitude for everything that brought us to where we are here and now. and of course, it's easy to say. It's a lot harder to,
Yeah.
to practice. I'm not saying it's easy or simple. I'm not saying it's easy or simple. I'm saying that's
And I
the
think
teaching. That's the
this
practice.
is where this is a perfect example of where sometimes when Jodo Shinshu is being explained to the bigger world, that it's about gratitude. There isn't background to that. Like now, when if I hear something like that, because do you know what I mean? I'm immersed in the Dharma. I can look and go, yeah, it is. It's all about gratitude, but like gratitude, but it's like but you don't get that explanation sometimes. People just say, even well-meaning, well, it's just about developing gratitude. It's just about expressing. And it's like, yeah, but no, it's not. There's a whole that's people that know nothing about Jodo Shinshu or Buddhism are going to even understand by what you're saying. And I think that that's not good. I've seen that over the couple of decades.
Yeah, it is a problem, I think.
But anyway, sorry, coming back, just a little side note there on that. Looking at it from this angle, it's that's yet another aspect. How where do you want to begin with how much Jodo Shinshu is about gratitude? Like, where do you want to even? Where can you begin to but that's from the inside out. You can see that. I don't think you can just say, oh, it's about gratitude to just anybody that is inquiring or knows nothing about it. But anyway, or just put it out there to say that. But anyway.
Well,
it's so anyway, so it's like, so go ahead, bring it back. Yeah, bring back to what you're saying.
Well, I think the concept, we're already an hour in. I don't know what your schedule is like, but
I can go a bit longer. Yeah, I can definitely go a bit longer. That's why I started earlier too. So
okay.
But I don't know how long you can go. So yeah.
Oh, I can go for a while. So, I just wanted to note I don't have any particular time restraints, so it's up to you how far.
Yeah, you can definitely go a bit. Definitely go a bit longer. I'll just say
another
that
maybe 20 or 30 minutes.
Okay, so that's the other aspect of this. I see that. Now that's one of the things I think the skill and means. The upaya of Amida use the 12 steps in my life because that's a big part. One of the discussions there'll be in there is people talking about their life and all that went wrong, all that, and they have deep gratitude for that, deep genuine gratitude, because it brought them to the life they have now. They would they would never have the life they have now, or the depth of understanding of things, or the experience that they have without that dark, difficult, devastating past. And I think that was the first time I came to understand. Like I had heard people say that before, similar things, or similar sentiments, like just before that. But that was in the 90s when I was kind of exploring the whole 12-step thing, and I came to truly understand that, and I think that's that definitely applies to the Jodo Shinshu perspective. Is that all that we wouldn't have this without, well, obviously without Amida's working, but without those experiences, we wouldn't have come to Jodo Shinshu. We wouldn't have seen it. We wouldn't have had the need for it. That need, that need for it is a huge factor. But the whole thing of that just that passage blows my mind. It's funny, that's the first paragraph. There's so much in that. So many times I come back to it. Why can't I see that before? And now this is another one, another aspect of it has now, been shifted out of another golden nugget has been lifted out of the waters, of the Dharma to show me that it's not just that you have to accept it, and these are just, but it's actually, this will be transformed into good. This will be transformed into Ruamida. And I don't think that's just talking about, it's that transformative experience of the process of Amida's working. It's not just talking about when we go to Pure Land and become Buddhas and then come back to that transference of virtue, to go forth and to come back. It's here and now. It's talking about it will be transformed in some way.
Yeah. And to emphasize that point, which is very important, because we're not putting forth, sometimes the very unsatisfactory thing you'll hear in a lot of other or some other I don't know how to put it, purely in groups, I guess, is but you should just be thankful that you'll be born in the Pure Land when you die, and until then, just suck it up. And I don't personally find that to be very helpful or
it's really not
spiritually useful
satisfying
myself. But yeah, I do want to share my screen one more time, because we have there's another this time a short passage that directly relates to what you just mentioned. And this is from our favorite Notes on Essentials of Faith Alone, the text that you can read. Well, as you mentioned previously, no matter how many times we read these, something new always comes up, So he's talking about, Shinran is talking about Jinin Ho Ni. And he says, Ji also means of itself. Of itself is a synonym for Jinin, which means to be made to become so. To be made to become so means that without the practicers calculating in any way whatsoever, all that practicers, past, present, and future evil karma, is transformed into the highest good, just as all waters upon entering the great ocean immediately become ocean water. Boom.
Wow.
All past, present, and future evil karma. So it is all transformed into the highest good.
Highest good, not just transformed good. The highest good, the highest good. And this subject of Jinin comes up a lot in my weekly Dharma discussion study with my two Dharma brothers. This idea of Jinin, to be made to become so, and then in the naturalness of that, the natural way working of the vow, but this is another aspect of it, another aspect. It's not just the bringing about, the true, real, and sincere mind. It's transforming your life. It's transforming. Blows your mind. It just blows your mind. It just really does. Can I read it? Can I read it myself? Can I just read that out loud myself?
Please. Please do.
So, G also means of itself. Of itself is a synonym, of itself is a synonym for Jinin, which means to be made to become so. To be made to become so means that without practitioners calculating in any way whatsoever all the practitioners' past, present, and future evil, karma is transformed into the highest good, just as all waters upon entering the great ocean immediately become ocean water. So I keep going for the rest of this paragraph.
Yeah, the rest is, he goes on to talk about, so for example, we are made to acquire the Tathagata's virtues, without power. Hence the expression made to become so. Since there is no contriving in any way to gain such virtues, it is called jinin. So the rest is talking about how do we, you know, attain that.
How does it play out kind of through Amitas? Yeah. So, wow. It is,
yeah.
I mean, that's really the ultimate. All this, you know, and without any of our calculating whatsoever, without any of us going, how do I change this? How do I, you know, how do I, it's more like, oh, it's already changing. Oh, Mita's already been sorting this out for my whole lifetime now. Oh, okay. This is the most mind-blowing religion on the face of the planet. I just can't. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it is. It just is. Buddhism, in first of all, just full stop, and then Kyogyoshinsho. It's the most like utterly mind-blowingly, devastatingly leveling, mind-blowing thing.
I agree.
It just is. There's no other way to put it. Certainly nothing I could ever figure out or do or comprehend with my own calculating mind. My finely tuned, finely honed calculating mind.
Indeed. And so so when you sent me the link to your thoughts on this topic and then shared your thoughts,
wow,
these were the passages that came to mind and that I wanted to discuss. And there's also an article in the glossary to the collected works of Shinran that is it's on the topic of Tinzu, or transformation. And it discusses it discusses Shinran's, you know, thought on the transformation. And it's a little long, so I wasn't sure if we should necessarily
how long
here.
I mean, is it long like the Shinjin?
Yeah, it's about that. So we don't need to read it this time, but I think
too bad.
It might be helpful
for a future
future episode. Or
sure.
I recommend to read it, so I'll send you the link.
Okay. Yeah.
And then if you have questions or thoughts about it, maybe we could discuss it at a future. But for this particular discussion, I really wanted to just
it's perfect
to put the passages that directly address the issue that you had.
It's direct.
So
there's nothing left.
I don't know. Did we get the Hosu drop?
I think, the Hosu drop happened even before I even knew it. It was, I mean, there's just no flies left. No flies. No, it just boom, boom. But wow. No, that's it. Just this is exactly it's exactly the answer, the remedy, the medicine, the aspect that needed to be cleared. That channel's cleared.
And so Shinshu,
that part of the channel is like another one cleared. You know.
And Shinshu is the path that transforms our evil into good, and that includes, as in that passage, past
present
karmic,
and future.
present and future. So, wow. And now, of course, living and practicing, and
Yeah.
that's a whole nother. But just to know that we are on that path is, to me, an incredible, thing. And so I wanted to share that in this particular discussion.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, definitely spot on, as we say. As we say here in the UK.
Spot on.
Spot on.
Jolly good. I guess you don't
very,
say it
very jolly good. Yeah, extremely jolly good. Proper jolly good. Yeah, wow. It's going to be another one of those areas where, you realize this was already getting sorted out before you even asked the question. You know what I mean? Like, similar to the addiction thing,
right.
And it's going to make me go, it's going to, again, and it's going to make me go like, what was I doing for all those years where I was calculating all this stuff and trying to do, like, I was involved in my own kabuki theater. It was already sorted by Amita, but I'm still, doing these, playing out this kabuki theater on top of this, to myself, that's kind of what it is. It's like, and then, when I realized that, when I realized the discussions we had about addiction and everything, when I realized that it had already happened, Mita was already sorting that out and taking care of that for me through the Nibutsu, through his working. It was like, well, what do I do now? I don't have any of that. I suddenly don't have any of the, addiction with recovery group, this and that. I got to do but how do I fit this into Buddhism? Suddenly all that's gone. And my mind's like, what do I do now?
What do I do with all that wasted space?
So it's going to be a similar, I think it's going to be a similar thing.
Yeah.
And there's other aspects of the Dharma where that happens.
Basically, I mean, basically the wasted space gets filled up with the nimbutsu of gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah. And it gets, sorry, go.
Yeah, I was going to say Bukpo Hosha, the repaying of gratitude to the Tathagata's benevolence and compassion.
Indeed.
So,
pay it forward has a whole nother. Pay it forward has a whole nother meaning when it comes to Kyogyoshinsho and Amita. Whew, I just realized that. Pay it forward. It's like, wow. Yeah, well, we will be. I mean, that's the whole, I'm going to be paying it forward, for beginningless time as a Buddha, as a Bodhisattva, when I come, come back from Pure Land to do the work of Amita, to guide other beings to Pure Land, so that's, you already have, you don't have to worry about it. It's going to be, you're going to be paying it forward. It's already happening. So, yeah. Sorry, what were you going to say? What else were you going to say?
Well, on that topic of the virtue for the returning to this world, it's kind of like on gravestones they have R.I.P. In Christian, where there's rest in peace. But for Kyogyoshinsho, it's more like BRB. Be right back. Is exactly. more appropriate.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. Very funny. Oh, so yeah, fantastic. This is amazing. I love this place.
The listening.
I love this place. Do you remember those adverts? Do you remember those adverts? The Burger King, that guy from MTV, the sports guy. I think he was the sports guy from MTV back in the late 80s, early 90s. I love this place with his hat turned around. I love this place. I love Kyogyoshinsho. I just do. I love it. It's amazing.
The more you hear, the more you want to hear, and the more it becomes essential, spiritually, and just kind of the foundation almost of your life. And it really is, like they say, it gives us the resources and the ability to live in a grateful and truly productive and good way. And it's just, like you
100%.
said, it's nothing else like it.
No, there really isn't. There's nothing that compares. There just isn't. I don't think there's anything that compares to Buddhism in general, really, but like Kyogyoshinsho, absolutely, like nothing compares at all. So grateful for that. It's like any aspect of it. Like, I've been told in the past, past kind of groups that, I'm very interested in Buddhist cosmology. That's my thing. That's my really love to do that, delve into that and learn and absorb all I can about it. And, I see teachings of the Buddha that's a good thing. You should look at these, you should contemplate these look at these different worlds and look at, it's a good thing to do, because it's all, the teaching is there. It will bring you, but I've been told by groups in the past, let's just call them in general, Pure Land-ish groups, that, don't get too caught up in that. Don't get too, it's, because you can't really understand it. It's not, it's not a good thing, really. And do you know what I mean? Or you just, it's just going to distract you, or blah, blah, whatever. I just think now everything Amida will use, like everything. And I can see directly how Amida used that, that Buddhist cosmology to bring me to. So every single thing gets transformed by Amida. Is a paya of Amida, and then he's just, Amida's transformative. Everything gets, points me in the direction. So now I don't worry about it. Now I just, because it all, or if you look, even looking at other teachings in Buddhism or other, because if you have the Kyogyoshinsho perspective and you see the teaching, you see the flip, you see the, and that's Amida's light illuminating that. But anyway, so it's just another aspect of this transformative aspect of Amida's working of the vow.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so amazing. Just amazing. Really great.
Yeah, I'm glad that we were able to discuss these passages that relate directly to this question.
Yeah, I have such a different perspective.
Which is, of course, a question that I also have, and have had. So
I remember thinking about this question, and finally it's coming to the surface where I was saying, okay, I gotta bring this up in our dialogues to clear. This needs to be addressed. This needs to be. There's a barrier here. There's something here. I need to, and even when I was thinking about it, I was like, I couldn't wait to see the flip. How is it gonna?
You knew it was coming.
But I couldn't even, calculate it. I didn't even try. Just like, okay, well, I can't wait to see what. And it's amazing how quickly that happens. Like my whole perspective is different just after this conversation. It's just. Boom.
That's what happens when we listen to the Dharma, and when we truly dig in deeply to what the Dharma says. I mean, it changes us. It changes the way we think and view ourselves and the world and others. I mean, it's transformative.
And speaking of which, I think I want to do the similar thing with the politics, social, you know what I mean? attitudes. What's the, like, I think I want to do that. I mean, we kind of, we're heading in that direction with the bamboo in daily life stuff. So I don't know if we'll continue it that way or do a session like this, a clearing the channels type session with that. But that's another big area that trips me up, and I'm back and forth and calculation upon calculation, you know, and you know, that I think I need to bring into the jump over the fence. No listening over hedge. Stop listening over hedge on this one. Jump over the hedge. Get up in there. Get up in there with Renyo, with you know, and speak up and talk about it. So I think I need to do a similar thing like this. So maybe that could be next time.
Sounds great.
Yeah, you know, because that political, what should be my political attitudes? What should be? Here's what they are, which for better or for worse, probably worse. And you know, what's the media going to do about this? How does that get sorted out? What's the Kyogyoshinsho take? What's the teaching? Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, we can certainly discuss it.
Excellent. Well, I'm mindful of time. Yes, please. Mindful of time. That's a very samsaric thing, isn't it? You must be mindful of time and how quickly it passes in our realm, in the human realm. So.
All right.
Let me just hold on. Yes, let me just get my beads ready here properly. There we go. Okay.
All right. Namo Amida
Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. 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 Namo.
All right. Well,
yes,
we will
excellent.
talk again. Great discussion. I really enjoyed it. Really, really
fantastic.
Spiritually refreshing and
agreed.
Wonderful.
Agreed. Thank you. Take care.
Right.
Have a great rest of your afternoon. Well, now it's evening, I guess, technically for you. So take care. All the best. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.